Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today we're going to start a new project, and we're going to recreate an old leather pocket journal. And I found this at an antique store, and I'm not sure how old it is, but I know it's pretty old. It probably dates back to the early 1900s, I'm going to assume. And I want to recreate this in a new version, and I'm going to customize it with my initials on it. So come on in and let's get started. Alright, so here's a little bit closer view of that, and it does have someone's initials on it. But they've taken a softer piece of leather, made the lace wrap for it. They've put some, looks like some parchment type paper in there. I bought some newsprint that newspapers are printed on for the one I'm going to do, and basically they've got a couple of holes in the spine for some thread to go through to hold the paper in. And then they've split the leather here for the lace to go through to wrap it closed. And then it just fits right in your pocket. So they would have used this for a lot of things back in the day, to keep notes on and that type of thing, where I'm sure most people use their phone today, but I think this would be neat to carry if you were doing Western reenactments or that type of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and reconstruct this. I'm going to use a little bit. The leather I'm using is not, I wouldn't say any thicker, but is definitely heavier as far as stiffer. So I drew around this, made me a pattern so I'd have it in case I wanted to make several of these, which I may end up doing. This piece of leather has a scar on it right here that's kind of almost like an X, and I'm gonna put that on the front cover. So I'm gonna line up that pattern where that X is gonna show on the front, and draw out around my pattern, and then I'll use a straight edge Now I could have moved that down and got more out of this piece, but I wanted that scar on the leather to be on my front cover of this one. So yeah, I'm wasting a little bit of leather, but I bought a ton of this in a scrap roll, and it was very, very inexpensive. So I'll cut that down both sides. And again, this leather, it's not super thick, but it's real tough. It's real stiff. So I'm sure it will last a long time. So I'll cut this last cut here at the bottom. And then I'll move this excess out of the way. And I will take my small beveler and bevel those edges. And that's just going to put a very small bevel on there. That'll kind of give it a two-tone edge with this leather. This is a pre-dyed tan colored leather. So you can see the edge there, kind of gives it a light color on that bevel, so it kind of sets it off a little bit. And then what I need to do is find my center. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to find my center here. And by the way, that was, the pattern is 6 inches by 4.5 inches. So it's 4.5 inches tall by 6 inches wide. So when you fold it over, that's going to be a 3-inch finished journal cover. So I am going to mark this at 3 inches at center on the top and 3 inches on the bottom. And then because this leather is so stiff, I want to make sure I can fold this over and it doesn't want to stay open all the time, because this leather, even if I wet it down, and it's going to want to naturally open back up. As you can see, the natural curl to it anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife and I am going to go just on each side of those marks and put a light cut. All I'm trying to do is cut through that very top layer of this inside leather. Just a little bit. I'm not trying to cut through the entire piece or anything. What I'm going to do is try to create a lighter spine, a thinner layer on the spine, so that it's going to want to fold easier. So again, I'm lightly cutting through that, just that top layer, and then you can see it as I open it up. You can see where I cut. I'm going to open that up backwards and fold that spine to where the inside is actually sticking out, and then you can see that piece that goes right down the spine sticking up. And then I'll take my knife, and you could probably take I don't know if you could take a larger beveler and actually cut that off of there. I think I have better luck since it's square, instead of just take my knife and go straight down that spine. Make sure you have a good sharp knife and just cut that layer, that top layer, off. And I think there's actually a tool for that. I do not have one. So I just use my utility knife. And make sure you have a good sharp blade in there. And all I'm doing is just cutting that top layer, that inside leather, off of that spine. Then I should be able to close that and it give me a better spine on my journal. So it doesn't want to, like when you have it closed, and I can still wet that a little bit and that'll help a lot, but now it won't want to naturally just pop straight open back to where it was. Notice how it wants to stay at least halfway closed now. And I get that wet and form that over and take my mallet and tap that spine down. I'm sure that'll stay down, and I'll do that now and show you. Let me get the scraps out of the way. And let me get my sponge. And let's just go ahead and moisten that. I'm going to personalize that anyway with some letters, stamped letters. So we'll do that. We'll case it now while we're doing the spine also. So I'll moisten that spine. I don't want to soak it. I'm just going to moisten it inside, and then I'll just case the whole outside since I'm going to put my personalized initials on the journal. And you can see how that, I'll show you that scar, how it really sticks out. I don't know if you could, yeah, you could see that X scar in there. Kind of has a neat look to it. So I'll get out my lettering stamps, my alphabet. I just have a small set. I don't have a very big one. So get out the initials. And I'll start. I'm going to do first, middle, and last. I'll start with the middle so I can go left and right of center from the middle one. Get my mallet. And as this is starting to come back to the original color, I can go ahead and start folding that over while that's good and moist. And I'll just tap that spine with my mallet, and that's definitely going to help with that wanting to stay closed. So that's pretty nice, because by the time you put the paper in it and you take your closure off, your lace closure, it's going to pop open where you can get your thumb in there and open it up. So I think that'll be just about right. If you want to, you could put a couple pieces of wood on each side, put a clamp on it, and let it dry like that, and it'll definitely dry a little tighter, closed a little tighter. However you want to do it. I'm I'm going to go ahead and open it back up and do my lettering stamps. And these do have a mark on the bottom of them, a little V cut out, so you know where the bottom of the letter is, because those do spin on that rod. And I like, as I tap, I like to rock it 360 degrees so that I get down in the leather real well. So as I tap on it, I just rock it around 360 degrees. And what that does is that gives me a really nice stamp of those letters in there. And then all I do is I take a stylus and put my periods in. And I don't even tap on it, I just push on it with my hand, and that puts my periods in for my, and you don't have to put periods in there if you don't want to. You could leave it. Put my stamps back up so I don't lose any. Keep them in alphabetical order so they're easy to find. Put those back up. Now what I want to do is I want to get my holes punched in there for my thread to hold my paper. So I need to know where to put my holes. So I'll measure off of the sample that I have, and they're 3.5 inches apart. So this was 4.5 inches. So if I go a 1/2 inch down, right on the center of the spine, make a mark, a 1/2 inch up, right on the center of the spine, and make a mark, that would be 3.5 inches. So I'll take the smallest punch I've got, which is an 1/8 inch, put it right over that mark on the spine, again, this is fairly tough leather, so it's going to last. You can see how it's really coming back to its natural color now, and you can see how dark the letters stand out. So I think I'm going to fold that back over. Tap that spine on the front. And the back, you want to make sure you keep that mallet nice and flat. You don't want to turn it to where you catch a corner on it, because when that leather's moist like that, you could dent it real easy. So you want to make sure you keep that mallet nice and flat, and don't go swinging and whacking on it real hard. Just tap on it. And that kind of breaks that grain a little bit, bends that grain in that leather, making it want to stay closed instead of popping back open like it was before. So there's my holes for my string or my thread that I'm going to put in there, or sinew, whatever you want to use. The next thing I want to do is I need to cut my marks in here for my piece of lace I'm using as my closure. And what they did was they just cut 2 slots on the front, and then they took a piece of lace and split it on the end and just put it through there, and then threaded the other end of the lace through that slit, and it makes for a real nice wrap. Keeps it closed. So I want to kind of get it the same. It looks like it's a 1/4 inch apart, and it's about 5/16 from the edge. So I'm just gonna take my stylus and make a little mark, and I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna eyeball it to center, so about 5/16 from the edge, and then a 1/4 inch apart. And then I don't want to make it any more than, let's see, they've made it quite a bit wider. About a 1/2 inch is what they've done. So I'm not going to make it any longer than a 1/2 inch. And all I'm doing is taking my stylus and just, you probably can't even pick that up on the camera, but I'm just putting little tiny marks on there so I know where to cut that, and you won't even see it after I've cut it. I'm going to spin that around and basically just go from mark to mark. And cut through that leather to make your slit. And then make sure you got through it. Double check it. Now that my ruler's out of the way. And what I'll do is I'll go from the bottom up a hair. I won't go all the way. And then I'll go from the top mark toward the center to make sure I did get cut all the way through from top to bottom, but not try to go to where I slip and cut through it and make it too long. And there you go. There's my slit for my lace. So what we're going to take on the lace is I've got just a little darker color, not much, but a little darker, thinner material, pre-dyed, and I'm just going to take that and cut a piece of 1/4 inch and cut my own lace for my closure. And I had already cut that off camera, and that's what it looks like. So I just cut a piece of 1/4 inch. I took a rounding punch, like for a strap or a belt, a small one, and I rounded the end. Then I took the other end, which was square, and cut a 1/4 inch slit in it. There you go, you can see it there. Get it behind some white. And I'm about 3/16 to a 1/4 inch from the top, because you don't want it pulling out. And you're not going to pull real tight on it anyway, but let's go ahead, and I've got another one that I've done so that it's dry. This one's been drying for a couple of days, so. And let's go ahead and thread this through. I'm going to thread that through from the back side, the slotted end. Then I'm going to loop it around to the front slot and stick that right back through that other slot. And pull it through. So that's what it looks like. And then I'll make sure that this is square. And I'll thread the other end, the rounded end, through that slit, and then just pull that to where it's nice and snug. And again, don't pull on it really hard because you don't want to tear through the end of that. But that's what it looks like on the front with it open. And then here's your piece of hand cut lace to close it up. So to close it, all you do is wrap it, and I made mine long enough that I could wrap it around 2 full times, and then on the 3rd time is when I'd tuck it in and close it. So that's what it looks like when it's closed. So when I have that done, I can go ahead, and I used some brown waxed thread, and I'd made it plenty long enough, and this is to hold my paper in. So I took one end and just threaded it through, and then took the other end and threaded it through from the outside. Both of them thread through the outside, and then that's what's going to hold my paper in, just like this one. And you can see it on the inside of this one. You can see the thread, and then they actually tied it under here so you can't see it under the spine, which I thought was super smart. Anytime you can hide a knot or anything like that, I think it makes it look so much better. So, and as I said, I took some newsprint that they print newspaper on. It's light, it's thinner than regular paper, it folds easily, and you can write on it real easy, and it kind of has that old look to it instead of it being like a bright white copy type paper. And I don't know how many sheets I put in there. I just grabbed a few sheets. I cut it to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 is the size I used. And I guess I just need to thread that one end in and then come down if I want to hide my knot. Then I'll thread it in from the inside like so. So that it looks like the other one and you can't see the knot. So then take your thread, and again this is waxed, so it's going to hold a knot really good. And I'm going to pull that snug. And then go ahead and finish the knot. And I'm just tying a square knot. And it slides right behind that paper in the spine, and then I'm just going to cut that off right even with the leather. Now, if I fill this up, which it would take a long time to do that, but if I filled all that paper up, all I have to do is cut that thread, take that paper out, and put new paper in and put a new thread on it. So it's not cost, prohibitive to do that. So I'll take it, wrap it around once, twice, come around my third time, and then that's when I'll tuck that lace underneath both pieces that I went around on the third time, and there's the finished piece with the initials. It's got my paper, and again, if I open it up and I want to write in it, you notice with the paper in it, it wants to naturally open, but it doesn't pop out wide open because I cut that thin layer of the inside of that spine out and then tap that spine down while it was moist. So go ahead and close it back up, and then it'll just fit right in your pocket, your shirt pocket or your pants pocket, front, back, vest pocket. So pretty versatile. So there's the finished product. It's got the stamped initials. It's got the closure on it. We can open that up. There's the paper inside. There's the wax thread that's holding the paper in, so it's very secure. And it's easy to carry and close. And again, it's kind of a neat thing that you can personalize it for whomever by putting their name or their initials on it. So this could be a nice gift for someone, or you could make up a few of them and take them to a craft show or whatever, and then actually case it right there and stamp and personalize them right there at the show and sell them. So I don't know what type of market there would be for it, but if you were in a craft fair or a Western conference or something like that, I go to a few of those, I could probably sell several of these, especially if they get their alias name or initials or whatever on them. So thanks for coming along with me, sharing this video. Please, if you haven't yet, subscribe, hit that subscribe button. If you have, thank you. Please, like I always say, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.